Hey everybody, today I'm going to walk us through lesson 4, editing and combining shapes and paths from the Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a Book 2024 release. There's a lot to this one, but be patient with yourself. Illustrator is an incredibly complex and deep program, so everyone starts somewhere. Okay, here I have on my desktop, and I'll come down and open Adobe Illustrator 2025, and you'll see something like this when you open Illustrator. To do this lesson, I'll click on Open and then L4Start.ai, and here we are. We have 3 artboards, 1, 2, 3. One is our poster elements that we'll work on with some examples of how they should look, along with the sign, and then the final poster. All 3 of those artboards are shown down here at the very bottom of the screen with this artboard navigation, poster parts, signage, and poster. So let's work on poster parts first. And the first thing I'll do is click on my selection tool, and then on this top sign part, then Command plus to zoom in. I'll click off it to deselect, and then on this path here, the green stroke. First, we'll use the scissors tool to cut that path and make a little change to the line. The scissors are located under the eraser tool. So if I come over here to the toolbar and click and hold on the eraser tool, I'll find the scissors tool underneath it. Then with this path selected, I can roll onto it with my scissors tool, and it says intersect right there. And that means I can click to cut that path. Turn on my direct selection tool, which is underneath selection, and that will allow me to select an individual anchor point, click and drag to move it up. So that's what the scissors do. They cut a single path and they make it open. Then in order to rejoin this path, I click off to deselect it. Then I'll click back on the path, and I have this join path button right here, and I'll click join path, and there we go. We've rejoined the path. Now the path is closed again. Then I'll scroll on down here to see my dog's face, and now what I want to do is use the knife tool. What the knife tool does, as opposed to the scissors, is cuts a single path into 2 paths. So rather than just separating a path like the scissors do, it creates 2 paths by cutting through them. You can't see the knife tool on the basic toolbar. So come over here to Window and Toolbars and click on Advanced. Then you'll see this expand and have a whole bunch more tools. First, with the selection tool selected, I'll go ahead and click on the dog's muzzle shape here. It's a single path, right? It's one shape, but I've got to turn this into something that looks like a dog's nose. So I'll come here, and the knife, now that we have the advanced toolbar open, I click on the scissors and hold, and you can see the knife now. Let me zoom in a little more. Command plus, Control plus on a PC. Right here with the knife, you can see I've got a knife point, and then I've got kind of a point at the handle, and I've got the arrow point of my selection tool. Sometimes for me, it's hard to tell where I'm actually going to be cutting from and to. In that case, I would click on the caps lock key to turn my cursor into a crosshair. Now I can see, more accurately where I'm starting from, how I'm making my line. And we just do this freehand. So I'll click and hold on my mouse trackpad and drag it through the dog's muzzle. Now that I have the knife tool done, it's now 2 different shapes, 2 different paths. Let me put the selection tool back on so we can see. Here we are. I'm now able to click this nose and take it and do whatever I want with it. But I'll press Command Z a couple of times to bring it back onto the face. And in order to make it look like a nose, I'll click on the Fill button under Properties and then Black. Now click your selection tool and then click off to deselect it. Let's zoom out a couple of ticks. And if I move over here, we can see we want to make this part of the dog's face too, the little other shade. And so let me get back over here onto this dog, our dog. Now with my selection tool on, I'll click on that muzzle again. Now I want to use the knife, but I want to make it a straight line. To do that, with the dog's muzzle selected, I'll click on the knife again, and we can see that path highlights itself. Then I'll hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC, You can see now it's a straight line no matter what I do. I can drag it around. I'm clicking and holding and just dragging it around here. To make the change we need to do here, you'll just use the Option key in conjunction with the knife tool, click and drag in a straight line, and let go. Now, when I turn my selection tool back on, you can see that this is now two different parts. Command Z to put everything back together. And with my selection tool, the black arrow, click on this, and I'll change the fill color on the bottom of the dog's muzzle to a different color. Okay, almost looking like a dog's face. Our next step is to shape the dog's ear. We just use the eraser to do that. Back here where we found the knife and the scissors, originally we had the eraser tool. So I'll go up here, click and hold on it to select the eraser tool. Oops, always gotta use the selector to select what we're going to work on, then click the eraser tool. And now I can come and just erase away by clicking and dragging over here. But my brush is really small right now, so let me come back over to the eraser tool and I'll double click on it. And you can see how tiny my brush is, 10 points. So let's make that a lot bigger, 180. And I'll click OK, and there we go. It's a much bigger eraser, right? So this circle is the size of the brush. And so what I can do now is just kind of erase. I clicked and held it down and just zoomed over the edge there to brush away some parts of this dog's ear. Command plus to zoom in some, and I'll click on my direct selection tool. Now we can see that we have all of these anchor points on the edges, and then we have these radial points. And what those do is change the shape, the curve of an edge. We can click and drag in here to make edges rounder, right? When they turn red, that means it's gone as far as it can go. So I'll just do that a little bit, right? We can take these corner widgets and kind of move them around some, maybe one at a time even, dragging it back and forth. So I'll zoom out a little bit and we can see made an okay dog's ear. Then I'll click on my selection tool again, Command minus to zoom out, and I'll just click and drag this onto the dog's head. There we go. You can make it bigger or smaller if you drag on here and move your cursor over move your selection tool cursor over the pathed out ear. Here, make it a little bigger to match. There we go. You can also erase in a straight line. We erased for the dog's ear with freehand, right? We just kind of erased around it. We can also erase in a straight line. And if I come over here onto the poster portion and Command plus to zoom in, get it back on my screen. And here we have these two bushes, and I'm going to erase a straight line out of the bottom of them. Go ahead and click on my selection tool here and click on one and then hold down Shift key to get on the other one. Then I'll click for my eraser tool, and you could see where the edge is going to be right here at the very tip top of that circle where I'm kind of butting up against the bottom of the black bar here. It looks like it won't erase all the way to the bottom. So to make this brush larger, again, I can click on the eraser, double click on the eraser tool and make this a larger brush, 350-ish. That'll be fine. So now I still have both of these circles selected. I have a very large eraser brush that's butted up against this black rectangle where I want the bottom to be. Hold down the Shift key and drag in a straight line, then let go. That's it. Press Command minus to zoom out. And let's roll back over onto our work area document. Now let's look at the Dachshund Diner sign and Command plus to zoom in a little bit. The reason it zoomed in on this part is because I still had my selection tool on these bushes. You have to be really disciplined about selecting and deselecting things in Illustrator. So now we'll just move over here onto this part of the image. It's Artboard 2, which we can select down here. Artboard 2. Now we'll learn how to make a compound path. And what that does is kind of punches a hole or takes a section out of another path. In this case, I want to take the center out of this green circle. So with my selection tool on, I select on my red circle, and then I select on my green circle. Over here under alignment, I'll click on align horizontal center, and then align the vertical center. And what that does is puts these two on top of each other, perfectly centered. Now that they're on top of each other, the red is on top of the green, I want to punch this out. I want to make a compound path here. First, I'll click to select the red circle, and then I'll shift click to select the green circle on top of it. Then I will single click the green circle again. I'm not holding the shift key there either. And you could see what I did is it made this outline, the stroke around the green circle, bold. What that means is that the green circle is now the key object. So it's now the object that whatever happens next acts upon. What happens next in this case is I'm going to click on Object and then Compound Path way down here at the bottom and then Make. And it punches out that red circle from the center. So I'll go through that again real quick. I'll click with my selection tool onto the red circle and then I'll shift click onto the green circle. I can go ahead and click one more time on this green circle to make it the key object now, and that way it won't move. The red circle will come to it. With this now selected as the key object and both red and green selected together, I'll click on Align Center Horizontal and Align Center Vertical. Now that the red circle is on top of the green circle and I have both of them selected and the green circle is still the key object, I can click on Object, Compound Path, and Make. And there you go. The red circle has been punched out of the inside of this green circle. The next step is to take this green circle and put it around the Dachshund Diner circle. I've shift clicked to select both of these, the green circle and the sign. Then I'll single click on this one to make it the key object. I'll do the same thing. I'll align horizontally and then I'll align them vertically. And there we have a nice looking little sign. Let's go ahead and save our document. Choose File, Save As, click Save on your computer, know where you're going to find it again, and I'll do Parker Lesson 4 and Illustrator file format. Click Save, and I'll click OK here. And there we go. Okay, Parker Lesson 4.ai. Let's move back over onto artboard number 1, and we'll work on this grass here. With my selection tool activated, I'll click on any of these grasses and then Command plus a few times to get it to zoom in. And so you can see that this is a line here. And what we need to do is convert it to a shape because we can erase from a line. Each of these blades of grass is just a path with a stroke on it. You see there's no fill. In order to make the eraser tool work, we need to turn these into shapes. And so what we'll do is come to Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. And now we've got, well, a stroke outlined, right? It's turned into this shape. Then we need to turn each of these other paths into strokes. We can click Shift Select on all of them and choose Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. And each of them individually will turn into a shape outline. Let me do that again. I'll press Command Z, Z, Z to go back a few steps. All right. All of our grass here, again, is a single path with a stroke on it. So we can't do any, we can manipulate those. What I can do is this time I'll come in here and just drag over all of them to select each 1, 2, 3, 4 strokes with my selection tool. And then I'll choose Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. And when I click this, each of these 4 shapes will become rectangles, outlined rectangle shapes. You see the lines pop up. I click off, then I can click back on any one of them and select them. Now I can use my eraser tool again to shape these into little plants. That brush is much too big, so this time to make the brush smaller, I'll click the left square bracket on my keyboard several times to make it much smaller. The left and right square brackets make your brushes and erasers bigger and smaller. Those 2 keys are on the right side of your keyboard towards the top. And so I can just kind of erase that. Wow, that's a lot. Maybe I want my brush even smaller. And see, the only shape that I had selected was this one. So none of the other rectangles are bothered. You all have noticed how much I have to go back and forth to the selection tool, back and forth to the eraser tool, back and forth. And one of the things you can do, one of the best keyboard shortcuts there is, for example, I'm on the eraser tool here and I want to select another rectangle to erase on. I can press the Command key and select that and then let go of the Command key and I'm still on the eraser tool. So the Command key on a Macintosh is a great way to temporarily switch to the selection tool. From whatever tool you're in, and still stay in that tool, right? And I'm just kind of like freehanding little plant shapes in here. Here's some ones that I don't want, so I'll press the Command key to temporarily turn on the selection tool, click to select this one is left over, so I'll press backspace to delete it. Looks like there's another one down there, and then I can do that up here too. Boop, gone. Let me zoom in here a little bit. What is this? This little tail here. Oops. Let me see if I can press Command right there. Get rid of that guy. And now I use the Command key to click off of that and then deselect everything. And I made a neat little plant here. You can see now it's redrawn the path around this grass that I erased on. If you've never looked at Henry Matisse's book, Jazz, you should have a look at that. It's really amazing. So now we made our grass. Let's go ahead and save the file. Command S. Click yes if you see a warning like that. I'm not sure what that was from. And now let's choose View, Fit All in Window. The next thing we're going to do is use the Shape Builder tool. You know, we've drawn objects with the rectangle and ellipse tools. We've erased shapes. We've cut them, we've sliced them. And now we're going to use the Shape Builder tool to make a new shape. So I'll go ahead and click on one of these circles down here and press Command plus. What we want to do is to combine these three separate circles into a cloud shape that looks something like this. So what I'm going to do here is with my selection tool on, I'll go ahead and just kind of click and drag over all three circles to select them. Then I'll click on the Shape Builder tool right here. It says create new shapes by combining and erasing parts of simpler ones. You can click learn more. This took a minute for me to wrap my mind around, but you can click learn more here to learn more about that Shape Builder tool. So I'll go ahead and click on it. And now you see it's turned into an arrow with a plus sign, and I can just click and drag through all of this shape that I want to be now a single shape. They've all been merged together. Now this is one shape. So if I click off and click back onto my selection tool, right, one shape. Those three circles are now one shape. I drew my way through it just then, but let me show you another way to do it. Sometimes with the Shape Builder tool, you can not get all of the parts that you want, like this little missed section here, the intersection of the three circles. So I wouldn't have that in my shape. In order to just select all of the parts at once, I can hold down the Shift key while these three circles are selected and drag it over them, and that will grab everything there and make it into a single shape. You can also use the Shape Builder to remove parts of shapes. And now we're going to take the bottom half off of this cloud shape to make it a floating cloud. So I click on the selection tool again, click on this rectangle to drag it up to about halfway. Now I'll shift select the cloud object to select it as well. So I have both the rectangle shape and the cloud shape selected. Now I'll click on the Shape Builder tool again. And when I roll back onto my artboard here, I press the Option key. And you see how it turns into a minus. And so now what I'm telling it is to remove this part of the shape. And I'll just drag it through here, and the bottom part of the shape is gone. Let me show you that again. Here I am in my selection tool again, black arrow, drag it up on top of the cloud, shift click on the cloud to select both things, the rectangle and the cloud. And then I'm going to use the Shape Builder tool to remove part of this. So I'll click on the Shape Builder tool here on the left-hand side, roll onto my artboard, hold down the Option key or Alt key on a Windows computer, and drag it through here. And when I let go, I get that cloud shape. I've made a new shape by removing part of the old shape. All right, good cloud. And now we'll apply the style of this cloud over here to this cloud. With my selection tool turned on, and this cloud just selected, the one we just made, I'll click on the eyedropper tool and click on this cloud over here. See it light up when I roll onto it. Click, and back on the selection tool, deselect. Looks great. I'll choose Command S to save, and View, Fit All in Window. Now let's work on these bushes down here. I click to select them, Command plus to zoom in on them. What we're going to do here is combine these two circle shapes and then eliminate the bottom half of that shape in a different way than we just demonstrated. First, with the selection tool on, I'll drag across these two circles, and over here in the Pathfinder menu, under the Properties panels, we'll click Unite to join those two shapes together, or unite them into a single shape. Now that we've made that into a single shape, we'll click around both of these items, both our green sideways snowman and this gold panel back here. So now that we've got both of these shapes selected, again, over here under the Pathfinder menu, I'll click on the three dots, and under Pathfinders, I'll choose minus back. I'm going to click on minus back right here. And that part is gone. That's because, I'll undo. So as we create shapes in Illustrator, one thing is on top and one thing is behind, right? And when I drag this green shape down, it's on top of this yellow shape. If I wanted to change the arrangement and move this yellow shape on top, I could click on it and choose arrange and bring to front. Now this is in front or on top of the green shape. But I'll go ahead and bring the green shape back to the front, and we'll do that again. I'll select both the yellow rectangle and the green bushes, and with both of them selected under Pathfinder and the three dots, I'll click on minus back. And so this will remove whatever is contained within that back layer. And so now we have this nice bushes. Go ahead and save your file. Now I'll scroll down to this next cloud shape, and we want to do sort of the same thing here. I can, with my selection tool on, I'll just click to select all of them. And with the Pathfinder tool, I can just click Unite. And I have this lovely new cloud shape. That's another way that we can make new shapes out of simpler shapes by piling up circles or doing different things with the Simple Shapes tool, and then using either the Shape Builder or the Pathfinder options to make new shapes. Again, we want to match the style of this cloud to the one on the right-hand side. Again, with it selected, I'll click on the eyedropper, roll over here to this cloud till it turns highlighted, click on it, and it mimics the cloud shape right there. Now let's make a tail for our dog. So I've rolled up on the page to this line down here. And we want to reshape this path to make it wavy, more like a dog's tail. And so with that line, that stroked line selected, I'll go ahead and click on my selection tool, and I'll click and hold on the scale tool and then choose the reshape tool. And now what that'll do is allow me to place new points on this line, on this path, to make it change its shape. I can move my curve up or down. Let's zoom in a little more. Command plus plus plus. I can choose my direct selection tool. Let's select one of these, grab it, click and hold to grab it and move it around. Let me undo that and show you again. All right, here we are with the selection tool on and this stroked path selected. I'll roll onto the scale tool, click and hold, and then choose the reshape tool. And then I'll come back to this line, and when this little square appears, I can add points to this line to make it curvy. Now I can give it a little more life by using the width tool. Looks like the jester hat right here. Click on that, and when you click and drag in the tail's path, you change the width at that anchor point in the path. And one of the things you can do when it turns into this little tilde here is click and drag, and you can change where that width point is. You can click it down. You could put in another one and change the width some more. If you were to double click on the width points, you can change it with numbers. Okay, I'll go ahead and undo. So mess around with the width. And when we get the width that we like, we'll keep that. And then I'll come up here to this anchor point and double click on it. And here I can see the width options that I have, side 1, side 2. We want the total width to be 0. So I want it to come to a point. So total width will be 0. And now it's proportionally shrunk that whole thing down to a pointy little tail. Command S to save, view, fit all in window. And one more thing, let's use the intertwine tool to wrap the scarf around this little dog. So with my selection tool on, I've clicked Command plus 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 to zoom in. In this case, we want this to kind of wrap around the brown shape of the dog. And to do that, I'll click on the dog and I'll shift click to also select the scarf shape. With the dog and the scarf shape selected, I'll then choose Object, Intertwine, and Make. So now, behind the scenes, Illustrator has figured out that it can make these two things go in front of and behind each other. With having made that intertwine happen, I can now roll onto it and I see when this little arrow appears below my cursor that says put this highlighted thing, this crosshatch thing, behind whatever that is. So I've got my dog, goes around the neck, behind, in front, then behind again, and then in front again. You can also use the lasso tool to just circle the part you want to go behind. And then, obviously if you mess up, if you don't get one thing, oh no, that's not what I wanted, you could click Edit, Undo, Rearrange, pop back, and just kind of do it however you need to do it, right? I undid a couple of times, put that back there. Maybe we just want to go with like that. However you want to do it. Looks pretty nice. So let me back up here and we'll go through that again. So I want to make this scarf go in and out of the dachshund's body. With my selection tool on, I'll click on the dachshund's body, the dog's body, and I'll also shift click to get the scarf too. Then I'll come up here to choose Object, Intertwine, and Make. Before we do that, this object menu has a lot of functions in it. So experiment in here. This is where you'll find a lot of those tools that you're looking for. Object, Intertwine, Make, to make these two things go behind and in front of each other. I thought I liked this right here. Oops, here. When I click, when you roll on here, it makes whatever is there go behind. See the arrow appear. That means that object will be put behind the other one. Oop, that's not what I wanted. So just lasso it and it appears again. Looking great. Command S to save, view, fit all in window. And so now we can assemble our poster. First, let's put the dog's head onto the diner sign. So I'll just drag with my selection tool on. I'll drag over the dog's head to select all the pieces, and I'll choose Group to make sure I can move those as a single item. I'll drag that over here and Command plus to zoom in. I can take that and hold down my Shift key and click and drag to change all of those objects together proportionally, meaning they'll keep the same width to height ratio. I can also hover over one of the corners and change the perspective of the dog's head, whether he's, rotated a little bit. Let me zoom in here another time or two and move this down where we can see. You can see I've put the dog's head on top of the word dachshund. And so now I've selected that dachshund word, and I'll click on Arrange and Bring to Front. Now we can see that D here. Now I've selected the dog's head and the body with the scarf, and now I can click Group here to make sure I've got that animal all in one piece. Now that I've got this dog path all as a group, I can grab and move the dog around. Looking at it now, it makes me think that design-wise, there's not enough contrast here between this green and the brown of the dog. So let's go ahead and just put a stroke on that lettering. That looks nice. Maybe we need 2 points. Then we can do the same thing down here with the diner. Stroke, I choose white, and then 2 points. Makes it pop out a little bit more. I've selected the dog again, and I'm moving him down. Oop, I left off part of his scarf. Moving him down. Click Group to make sure I get that scarf in there. Now it looks like I've somehow got the words behind again. No problem. I'll click on them again with my selection tool. Arrange, Bring to Front. Great. We'll go with that. Command S to save, and View, Fit All in Window. Our next step is to assemble the sign. So with the selection tool on, black arrow, just click and drag over this whole thing. Drag it over here onto this circle, onto the poster, and that's about right. I'm going to go ahead and choose Group here to make sure that I get that all as one piece. Let's zoom in. Ta-da. I can drag this around however I like. View, Fit All in Window again. Go ahead and take this sign here. I've used my selection tool to click and drag around it. I'll choose Group to make it all act as one. Just put this on the side for now. Come back and resize it later. Click and drag with my selection tool around the plant. choose group, drag it over here, right there. Cloud, click and drag over onto our poster, click and drag around our plants, drag those over there. Oops, I didn't change the format of this cloud. So with the selection tool selected, I'll click on the cloud, the dropper, and then on this cloud, click back to the selection tool. Great. Change the look of that cloud. I'll drag it over here, and then our dog's tail, click and drag onto our little doggy. So now that we've got all those elements onto our poster, I'll press Command plus to zoom in onto it. And you can see I've got the dog's tail is dropped behind the green layer. So I want to choose Arrange and bring to front. And there's our dog's tail. Kind of too big for our little doggy here. So I'll go ahead and click, roll my cursor over here to see the round edge and rotate it. And then the straight up and down arrow to kind of shrink it down. And there we go, little dog's tail. Here on the sign, I can just click on it with my selection tool, hold down the Shift key, come up to one of the corners, and then shrink it down. Holding the Shift key will make it shrink proportionally and maintain the width and height relationship. Looks like I swapped my big and small clouds here, but Illustrator is vector art, so we can rescale anything as needed. I'll click with my selection tool on this upper cloud and hold down the Shift key again to make it shrink proportionally. Drag it there into its place. Click on this cloud and drag it out. To drag it out proportionally, you can see it's already behind the diner sign. So that's great. I'll go ahead and kind of stretch it not proportionally, not holding the Shift key to make it fit the outline. And then we've got our plant here. Kind of put that in the ground and maybe make it bigger, taller by just kind of dragging it around. And let's go Command minus or Command 0 to fit the current artboard in the window. And you can see that we've made our sign. So we used over here under the eraser tool, we used the eraser, we used the scissors tool, we used the advanced toolbar to add the knife tool. Then we used the reshape tool that you found under the scale tool to change the shape of a line. We also used the width tool right here, the jester hat, and we used the shape builder tool. All of those we used to put our sign here together, along with the ever necessary selection and direct selection tools. Now that we've completed all the steps of that tutorial, I'll choose File, Save As, Save on my computer. I've named it with my last name and what it is. Then I'll choose Format, Adobe PDF. That suffix will change to .pdf. I'll choose Save, click Save PDF, and we are good to go. You'll take that file, upload it to Blackboard, and that's success. All right, thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening. See you soon.